Okay. Good morning. Welcome to UBiz Connect. UBiz is an accelerator program that we started several years ago. We have businesses here that range from Terry Clark Tell, how many years in business?
25.
25. To Bloom and Clover, how many years in business?
5
years. So we have Maisha, New Life Fitness, how many years?
13 years.
13. Carl Singleton, how many years? 6 years. So we have businesses from 5 years to 25 years in business. Now, there's this concept that Harvard Business Review talked about in an article they came up with based on research of businesses and hundreds of businesses they looked at. So this is not just theoretical, these are real, about the life cycle of business. So they call it 5 stages of business growth. It's so important that we know where we are in that evolution, or we could even say revolution, because there are different things that happen. There's roller coaster. If you're an entrepreneur, it's never a straight line. It's never I do A, B, C, year 1, and then I do D, E, F, year 2. No. It's always some tribulation, and sometimes I call it the wilderness experience that happens in running a business, right? So, but what I want to do now is just kind of show us visually what that looks like, and every business owner should know where you are. Okay, if you've been to any business class or business school around marketing, where they talk about product life cycle. You all know about product when you launch a new product. There's an introductory stage when you launch the product. There's a growth stage. There's maturity. And then there's decline of product. You all know that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's plot that. So what that looks like. So this is years. Okay? And this is kind of the stage. So this is product, right? So you launch the product, and this assume this is revenue, or number of products sold. So it grows, and then it does one of these, and then it goes down. This is the decline. Okay? This is maturity. This is growth. This is the launch, when you're launching the product. Of course, this looks kind of very predictable. Most products, some products don't even make it out of here, right? And I'm gonna do zigzag, zigzag. This is exit. They drop off. Some drop off before they even get to maturity, right? Now let's use a product that we all use, most people use, iPhone. Why do you think iPhone always coming up with a new version? Now they're up to X, up to 10. Started with 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 10. Because this is happening. People get bored easily. People look for new feature, right? But so at some point it's gonna decline. Some point you're gonna drop off. So what happened is that they bring in new one to take over when they start declining. They introduce new product. So they never get to decline. You follow me? So now, business is no different. But what we want to avoid is we don't want to get to there, right? We want to just keep growing. But at some point, you may not decline as a business, but you're going to exit. Are we together? You're going to exit. So for business owner, this is what it looks like. So whether we like it or not, we get old, we may get sick, or we may just get tired and you want to monetize. We call it exit, right? So for business owners, there are 5 stages that I want to talk about. The first is existence, okay? So let's talk about this years again for business. And I'm going to just kind of put a box here, existence. That's stage 1. When you first started, you're trying to survive, you're trying to exist. You're trying to establish the business, you're trying to open the location, you just giving birth to this baby called bloom and clover, called clocktail, right? And now, so celebration, congratulations, you just existed. But guess what happened? You try to survive. You try to live. Survival. Okay? Think about it when you first started. You just try, are customers going to come in? Are they going to buy today? How am I going to get new customers? How do I pay the light bills? Survival. That's the second stage. The next stage is what we call the success stage. Okay? So you have made it. You're getting enough customers. Success stage. You're getting enough customers. You're paying the bills now. Things are a lot easier. And then after that, take off. Okay? There's one here I'm going to squeeze right here called maturity. But we never want to decline. So you see, I didn't put any exit because at some point, the ultimate goal is when you get ready to exit, you want to be able, our goal for the purpose of this discussion is to hand it over to somebody else. Monetize it. You want to set it up in a way where somebody else can take it over. That's what we don't think about. So when something happens to us, the business shuts down because we are it. New life is Maisha. Foundation Transportation is Carl Singleton and nothing else. So when something happens and Carl decided he's tired, he just shuts it down. That happens tragically to a lot of businesses, right? We don't want to do that. So we want to be able to think about all the sweat equity and the money you put into this business without getting paid your fair market rate, with all the talent you have. If you were to be working for a big company, think about your salary per year times 25 years you've been in business. Think about that. Your business haven't paid you that. I know. Most businesses don't collect the salary they really market value. So that's an investment you've been making. So at some point, you want to calculate what is the value and make sure that your business is adding value where you can monetize and sell it to somebody else. Okay, so now, how you do that is, or what determines whether you move from existence to survival. Now, this is what is happening, just like we said on product. I'm going to put this zigzag, decline, zigzag, exit, zigzag. These are people dropping off. 10% of businesses that start make it through 5 years. Only 10%. So if 10 businesses started today, 5 years later, only one will be in business. Some may still be registered, but they're really on life support. I'm talking about being in business where you are actually hiring people, growing. Only 1 out of 10 make it past 5 years. So congratulations to all of you. You passed 5 years mark, right? Okay, so now what are the challenges? Let's talk about where you are. And now don't think because you've been in business for 10, 15 years, you're up here success. Let's define this a little bit more, okay? Existence, again, nobody is really here in existence because this is more when you first started. When you first start, number one focus here is customer, customer, customer. How do I get my customer? Survival is how do I pay my bill? Cash flow is the biggest. Access to capital. How do I keep up with the customers that I'm receiving? Am I pricing properly? And also, the way you get out of this, let's focus on one attribute, how you get out of this. It's all about delegation. How do you disconnect yourself? So I'm going to draw a little circle here. This is the business, and this is you. So when you're here, it's all about you. When you get to, I'm going to take it over to the takeoff, right? When you're in the takeoff stage, what determines whether you make it to takeoff is you, the business. Little overlap. Does that make sense? Little overlap. When the business is mostly 90% you, you're still surviving. Right? Do you know why? Because when it's about you, it is hard for you to really grow at the rate. There's so much you could produce by yourself. There's a limitation to how much you could produce. Okay, most of you know that I own Little Caesars Pizza franchise, right? When I first opened my first store, if I had been the one that does all the hiring, open and close, go to the bank, does all my advertising, does my books, would I open a second store? No. But when I began to have manager, delegating to the manager, and begin to step out, then I can go look for the second location. Then I can go sit down with the bank to negotiate loan to open the second location. And then to the point where I hardly have to step into my store unless I'm trying to inspect how things are going. Okay? So that's very important that the delegation is one attribute. What do y'all think is another attribute to getting out of this survival mode? Let's talk to each other now.
Well, for me, I feel like I've been at success and then I've gone back to survival mode. Okay. That's possible.
Okay, give us an example. When do you think you were a success? Because we haven't talked about what success really looked like.
Well, success for me at the time was consistent growth. I was constantly hiring. I was constantly opening new locations and launching new products. And they were being purchased. So for me, that was success because the revenue showed it and profit margin, all that. But I've experienced some decline over those years, and now I found myself dipping into survival mode. Like I'm stagnant. I'm not really launching new products and growing. I'm too busy focused on trying to save the business.
That's right. That's right. That's a great example. When success, you don't have to worry about paying bills. You are innovating.
Yeah, I did.
You're coming up with new product, coming up with new revenue source. You have departments, not fully department, but you have people doing what they're supposed to do, right? You have talent in the team that are doing what they're supposed to. You could take vacation. Yeah. And the register is still ringing, right? And the place didn't catch on fire. Yeah, of course, you still got to come back with at least a week or two, because the longer you stay, if you really still running the business, you're still the CEO, but you have people that can pretty much do 80% of the function without you effectively when you're in the success mode, okay? So now let's talk about takeoff, okay? Takeoff is when the business is ready now to acquire somebody else. You have a good infrastructure. You could actually double your growth if you want to. Okay? You have capital. You have access to banks that want to loan you money, right? And you have something that is really close to being viral, something that people are buying on a predictable way, right? Then you can acquire or you can merge, okay? And that means you could really step out and somebody else become the CEO and the business will not miss a beat. Now, what are the challenges with that? That's ideally, right? But it's not always ideal.
I still feel like there has to be some strategic planning.
Yes.
There, and that's the piece that I was always lacking.
Okay, good. So you're talking about you stepping out, right?
Right.
if you step out and you don't have the culture, you remember what made you successful was your entrepreneur spirit. There was something passion that you have, Maisha, when you started New Life. You lost a lot of weight after having a baby. I could tell you a story right now, like it was mine. You know, I could tell Clark a story, okay? You saw a niche in the marketplace. You began to create a program for people to achieve the same result that you personally achieved. You have this passion and commitment to that dream. And you've run it so well, and now you have people coming in here that could run it, but do they still have that entrepreneurial spirit and that passion as you do? Because what happens when you get to this takeoff and maturity, if you step out without making sure the culture and that passion has been transferred, that's why some businesses don't survive second generation. Your son or your relative could take it over, but they could not keep up with that entrepreneur drive that got you started. So that's the biggest challenge on here. That's why some people end up declining, because when they step out, the person that now on the helm does not carry the same momentum that took you to success. Then they can start declining or they can go out of business. That's why you see this kind of zigzag here, that you can exit here if you don't manage that transition well. Okay? All right. So that's it.